Okay, we're live.
So do we want to need a remote chair? Is it the easiest?
Yep,
It's the only.
whichever. Have at it.
Okay. I'd say I just turned 5 PM on my end. I think we got Jake signed on and everybody that's gonna be on here. Looks like we're all here, so I don't know if we want to start call to order and do our roll call or normal order.
Erickson here.
And maybe just say if you're remote or not, that way you make the note.
Warner here.
Imker here and
And just
Anderson.
here.
I think we got everyone.
And Keel's here, but remote.
Wall here, but remote.
All right. I think we got it all. We got the whole roll call, and we can probably get everybody to stand that's got the flag, and we can do start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to
All
the
right.
flag
And we can start
of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Well, perfect. We'll move on to our approval of our agenda that everybody should have that in front of you. We have a motion to approve our agenda.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Megan. Any questions? Other than that, all in favor of approve our agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Approve our agenda. I can't see who's all there. If anybody is there for public comments or?
No, nobody here for public comments.
Okay, I don't see anybody remote for public comment, but. So we can move straight into our audit report then. Is that? We ready to, we're right, I can hand that over to you, Tim, and you can.
Sure thing.
Josh? Or Nate is gonna be doing that, or?
Yep.
I am, yep.
Nate, do you want to share your screen and then I'll stop sharing?
Yeah, that,
Let's do that.
I'll do that. That would be super.
Much easier.
1 second.
I like it better with that.
All right. Good. Oh, it went to the wrong one. That's my bad. Oh, window. There we are. All right, good evening, everyone. Nathan Kinner here with Kinner and Company. We are pleased to report the results of the audit for your year ended in June. Up on the screen, we've got the audit report itself. I understand that was part of the packet and you've had a chance to peek ahead. So we won't read every word of this 95-page document. We'll hit some of those highlights and let us get on with your meeting. So in the financial section, page 2 of the audit has the independent auditor's report. The most important thing really of the whole packet is this our opinion paragraph, and it states that the financials are presented fairly in all material respects for the Independent School District 2884. And that present fairly commentary is a clean opinion, the kind of opinion that you strive to achieve and the one that your organization has earned. And I like to use the word earned because it doesn't come with, necessarily easily when you've got everybody doing their part in making this work for you. So that is the lead off in the audit report is that opinion, and it is then followed up with a basis for opinion paragraph, a change of accounting principle. That was something new this year. GASB 101 required us to put layer on the compensated absences, which changed the financials by about 200,000 from prior year. Then it goes into your responsibilities as management as well as describing what we do with the financials. We exercise professional judgment. We obtain an understanding of internal controls. We evaluate your accounting policies and all of that. And so we, again, pleased to report that clean opinion. Going into the financials themselves, the lead off is the management's discussion and analysis. This is the district's chance to kind of talk about itself and hit some of those highlights. We do write it, but we get feedback from your team and include that in here. So key financial highlights: the net position increased by 1.1 million from the prior year to a total of 4.8 million. That's net position. That's under a full accrual basis. The fund balance in the general fund decreased by 687,000. The food service fund decreased as well, and the community service fund decreased. Those are under a modified accrual basis. We talk about the general obligation note back in 2022, and then some of the abatements. That's just one extra paragraph there, nothing or a bullet point. Overview of the financials, just kind of how they actually play into together, your MD&A, your basic financials, your supplemental information, and then more detail as you go down. That's kind of described in this table on page 7. Then we get into the actual financial, some actual numbers, I should say, on page 9. Current assets, capital assets, of course, we saw those change significantly over the last few years with the new building, and the same with the long-term liabilities. Still do have a net positive position, again, under a full accrual basis of $4.8 million. From the changes, revenues versus expenditures, took in $10.2 million in revenue under that accrual basis, and the expenditures were 9.1 for a positive change in that position of almost 1.2 million. I mentioned before having put compensated absences like sick, vacation, those types of leaves on the financials, and so that was a restatement to the beginning of the year by 201,000, which is what that's how it was required to be done. We could have done it earlier, but that's just it's required now. So that continuing on with the MD&A, a little more detail on the bottom of page 11 with the individual funds, general food, community debt, and building construction. We do see the building construction with a fund decrease of $6 million for the year. And then it was 26 the year before, and this is based on modified accrual. So that's basically money in, money out, and a much more short-term vision as you're looking at the individual funds. On the detailed side for the general fund, 6.2 million in revenues, state, local, federal, interest, other. That's up 2.3% from the previous year. So get that highlighted, and then kind of where that money comes from, and then also where that money goes to. So 6.068 million outflow for the year, with capital expenditures being the largest increase year over year, and then purchase services following, and then keeping the salaries and benefits relatively flat. But overall, a 10% increase in expenditures in the general fund for the year. Budgetary analysis, there's a whole statement related to the budget and how it compares to the final. We'll see that a little bit later in the report, but we do have a little snips of that here on the front end. Capital assets, net of depreciation, $50.9 million versus 42 million at the beginning of the year, so 20% increase. When we see construction in progress, basically getting converted into actual building for the year. So that is good to see, of course, for you. On the debt side, debt increased for the year to a lesser extent than it the actual assets increase. And then this is again where the district gets to say, effectively what it wants, besides what's just required under generally accepted accounting principles, the different factors and what's looking up there. So just point out, do the construction cost overruns, exploring a variety of strategies to address remaining expenses, and are considering an operating levy in November of 2026. So that was, an important note. The actual financial statements, not that much of this is, let's say, exciting to start with, but the statement of net position, that would be similar to a balance sheet for private sector people out there. I've already shown kind of a big high level thing with that, but we've got 6.6 million in current assets, and 50 million in non-current assets for total assets of 57 million. Deferred outflow resources is really OPEB and pension required to be disclosed and kind of recognize those items over time, so it's not the most comparable type thing to a private sector, but it is there. On the liability side, we do have overdrawn pooled cash that relates to the construction project, salaries payable, accounts payable, long-term debt, all of those totaling up to 5.2 million, and then long-term debt at 48.9 million. We also have that concept of deferred resources on the pension and OPEB and payroll property tax liabilities. Later on here, and then the total net position, again, I mentioned before, 4.8 million. Statement of activities breaks things down between charges for services, operating grants, capital grants, and expenditures, and then down below the actual tax type revenue. So those are all accounted here along with that change in accounting principle. The next several pages relate to modified accrual, and that is a different basis of accounting that has, again, more of a current financial resources way of looking at things, a much more short-term concern versus full accrual. So we've got it broken down between the different fund categories, the assets, the liabilities. Moving on to page 21, a reconciliation between modified accrual and full accrual. Page 22, the revenues versus expenditures for the different funds as they get into this. Getting a little bit smaller here, I'll skim faster. The budget versus actual is on page 24, and they're just the budget kind of throughout the year, but $217,000 over what was budgeted as far as the revenue side. And then on the expenditures side, page 25 and on, you can see the positive and negative variances in the final column, if we overspent or underspent what was budgeted for the year. So there was a large variance on the capital expenditure side, things that were thought to have been put through kind of this category and a different category. So the adjustments to the budget throughout the year didn't quite hit right with the final, but that's just kind of the nature of where it lands. There's a whole pile of footnotes that are required under generally accepted accounting principles. Those are all laid out here. We go through a full disclosure checklist to make sure that we hit the things that are required to be hit. Again, this has been provided to your team and walked through. The details on page 42 around capital assets, additions, deletions. We see that change in capital assets between construction in progress and buildings for the year. So again, that's to be expected. We see $776,000 of depreciation, which, as you have sizable and nice facilities, that expense gets used over time, and so that depreciation number, of course, would be much higher after completion and occupancy of the building. Moving on, there's some things around long-term debt. There's some fund balance classification details on page 46 on where some of these funds have to be used on. There's a whole pile of information related to pensions. I will click through that as it just really is nothing that you can do anything about. So I just don't love to spend time on it. But it is important to again meet these requirements and report what we have to for getting that clean opinion and getting it to the state as well. I'll move to the findings. And so in 2024, we had one finding. It was a material weakness reported for lack of segregation of duties. That is fairly common, and those of you that have been on there for a long time will have heard that, me say that before. The current findings include a repeat of that segregation of duties finding, limited staff, segregation is not always necessary, doesn't work the way that it's always intended. That's again fairly common, and that's detailed on page 77. Additional findings included financial reporting process and material audit adjustments. So we assisted. This one is also not fairly. It's fairly common, I should say, is. And so we prepared financials for you. In addition to that, we had material auditor adjustments, and effectively we ended up being part of the controls, and so that ends up being a finding. In a perfect world, as we handed to us, we'd add our report to it after doing our testing. The next finding was financial reporting related to the capital project oversight and budget monitoring. The budget exceeded available resource, resulting in a $2 million deficit fund balance and a negative closed cash position of $1.6 million. This details that whether or not the state bugs you about us having a finding on it, I don't know, but it is here. We say the Board of Education is responsible, the monitoring is documented by the superintendent, and there'll be corrective actions, which I know you're working towards because I can see them in your minutes and I can see them in your plans for even the rest of tonight. Last finding was 2025-4, non-payment of bills in accordance with, and there's a whole statute that says you have to do certain things. So we had $885,000 unpaid contractor invoices related to the construction projects beyond the statutory payment period. And so that is another write-up basically, and you can kind of get it and you deal with it, and that's what happens. That leads to the final report on internal controls, and again, they've been documented here, so that's what we talked about with respect to that. One of those is a Minnesota compliance finding, the other two are audit type findings. At the very end of the report, there's a fiscal compliance. This gets uploaded to the state UCARS, and that is really kind of what the report looks like. So a lot of details. I apologize for speed and brevity, but I also understand, if you did have detailed questions, we'd have to work through it with my auditor and staff. Really, you have to work with your team and your administrators and the co-op as well, and your business manager locally to fully understand kind of the big picture. But you get a clean opinion, you get an audit, you get to report it up to the state and effectively move forward. That's I guess what I've got for you, everyone.
Any questions?
No questions for me.
Okay.
I think everybody's going to test us a lot of pages that we've scrolled through tonight, and I think I'm hoping the rest of us would take a time to. So there's a lot of numbers there. But
I don't think it's anything we didn't know though.
No, that's
Absolutely.
Our own internal research, so. Thanks, Nate.
That should always be my goal, is to not come shocking someone. I had a client with an emergency meeting yesterday. It wasn't a school district, but working through some issues where we needed to be part of. And, the fact that you're stay ahead of where you can is a testament to what you're working through. So.
other than that, I don't know if anybody else had any questions for Nathan or?
I don't have any questions for Nathan, but I do have a couple. Nathan, you can hop off.
You wanna wait till
All right.
the audit approval?
Yes.
You guys have a very good evening. Thank
Thanks,
you so much.
Nate. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess, all that information that, I guess we added and we knew the numbers, but it's nice to see it all, I guess on the report too, put it down there, I guess it's, Tim, that's all on, that's all, I just looked at it, followed along with the agenda, so it's nice that if anybody wants to go through there, they can scroll through it. Other than that, do we have any other thing to discuss on that?
I do, Tom, but we'll discuss it when we get to the approval.
Okay. So, other than that, we can pray. We'll do that. Yeah, we'll do that as our action items, so we can move on to our, just move on to our reports then, Tim, would that be fine?
Yes.
All right, yeah, we have all the business manager reports.
Yeah, so both our business manager, Stacy and Colby are not here. Due to weather, I told them both to stay home. Unfortunately, Colby is in the emergency room with his wife right now. So I will go ahead and do the finance report, and I'm gonna use what Jordan shared with us. I'm gonna basically go over what current ending fund balances are. Pretty much all these other graphs haven't changed much, just show current positions, but these are current fund balances right now. It's particularly unassigned. It's dipped down a little bit, not much, but enough where we did a little in-depth discussion. Stacy and I met with Jordan yesterday and we went through our quarterly report with him and went kind of line for line, looking at items that may have been over budgeted, but some of them weren't necessarily coded correctly, so they're gonna be recoded. That unassigned balance should go back up to, I think it was about 230 something on next month's report. As you know, tonight we're going to, the board will approve a resolution to transfer the Fund 6 construction fund deficit into general fund. That'll probably pretty much take care of all the unassigned reserves. And it'll basically transfer the deficit to general fund. That means operating capital and the unassigned balances. Once we do the recoding, the unassigned balance will increase, but then it's going to be taken when that transfer is done. The reason we have to transfer is by statute, you're not allowed to carry that debt in this Fund 6, so. That's really all I have for the business report. Everything else in there are items that are in the consent agenda for approval.
Okay, and that's, thanks for clarifying I was just gonna mention that to you and why we want to transfer it, so. And there's a whole, it's like every week, I hope everybody had a chance to go through. Is there any, I guess now's the time we could have any questions on any of the payments or there's a lot there to look through and it's.
There's really no unusual large payments, all pretty much obligatory and normal.
Yeah, I didn't see anything that jumped out at me when I went through my reports here. As well, but otherwise, I guess if there's no other questions or comments on the business manager section. Is there somebody want to go through the activities director report then? We ready to move into that or?
I'll do that as well, and of course, it's pretty short. Nothing major changing. We have the high water invite tomorrow, or excuse me, Friday. There's a possibility, and I'll just put it out there so everybody knows now, there's a possibility we'll have a no school day due to the weather because of the wind chill factors. We already have an early release that day because of the wrestling tournament. I did talk with Mr. Pack today and he said as of now all teams are participating whether we have open school or not. So, you know, the thoughts are in discussion with other regional superintendents, they are talking about a late start on Friday. For us, of course, with a early release, it would make no sense to do that. So what we do in that situation is do a no school. So, other than that, pretty skimpy report this time, not much.
I will make note that he has a line here that says the Red Rock Tomahawk crossover last Saturday went very well. We were here for almost the entire day. It was awesome.
Yep, it was, that was a big part of it,
Yeah,
it was.
it was one of the neatest parts was watching the teams watch the games in the commons area.
I'm gonna also throw a shout out to Mr. Pack because
Yeah.
it was extremely well organized.
It really was. It just flowed perfectly.
And he spent a lot of time doing that. I had a chat with his wife during the first game and she said, yeah, he wanted to make sure everything flowed where it wasn't a concern, and it did.
Yeah, I wish we could get that here. I know it changes every year, but it'd be fun to have it something like that here every year.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
I gotta thank everybody for, I gotta thank Brian and Christie. The beginning of the day, it was pretty crappy weather, and then it went on, and that delayed me, so I didn't make it up there, so I gotta thank everybody for doing their part up there. It sounded like it was a good time.
But,
Oh, is there any other activities director report?
We
We
got
gotta give that shout out to Colby Pack, and thanks for doing everything you did for that. And
I
I
guess
guess
we
we're
just
gonna turn it over to you again,
Tim,
Tim, for your, Dr. Godfrey, for your superintendent principal report then.
Sounds good. Want to start by looking at March 18th regular board meeting and requesting a change of date. Reason behind that, my wife and I had been planning for a short vacation to coincide with that weekend leaving on March 18th. If possible, if we could do it March 17th, the night before. Nothing has to, we don't need to take any action on that tonight. I just wanted to give the board a heads up well enough in advance. It's still a couple months away, but we'll be out. I certainly don't want to miss the meeting, and I don't think I'd be able to participate virtually on that one. So I want to put that on your radar. We can talk about it more at our February work session, and then take action to move it at that February board meeting if you guys agree. Did a cell phone survey with staff. We had talked about our current cell phone policy. There's a lot of different parameters to that. We still see students with their cell phones. It's a battle for teachers in the classroom. We met with all teachers Monday at our in-service, had a discussion about what the current policy is it being enforced appropriately or not. Administration gave their full support and following through with student discipline if it's violated, as long as teachers are following through on their end. But the survey involved going completely no cell phones. And as you can see, 96.2% of our teachers said yes, they would like to go with a completely no cell phone policy. So I'm gonna work with the leadership team to develop some type of process or policy to bring to the board, probably in March. And we'll discuss it along the way at a work session. I did this in my last district, very successful. It not only helped engagement in the classroom, but it helped with the social aspect, students having that ability to talk during lunch instead of on their devices. And we did see an increase in test scores, lots of different things related to it. I have quite a bit of research I'll share with the board, probably through an email, different articles, some things I've written as well. So I want to get that on your radar. Something will be coming for the board to discuss and take action on, at least by the March board meeting. We have threat assessment training tomorrow. We developed a team of 5. It'll be myself. Mr. Pack won't be there because of the situation, medical situation. Mr. Nepperman, Ms. Lindeman, and Mr. Stevenson will all attend this tomorrow. It's the Redwood Area Community Center. We'll be there all day, working on the process of developing a threat assessment plan that we can bring back to the school and work with staff. We do have a threat assessment plan. I don't know that everybody knows the procedures in there. This is a way to revisit it, start from scratch, build something that's more sustainable for our district. Monday had a district staff meeting, discussed open ed, cell phone policy, and I went through the financial situation in accordance with what Ellers presented to the board. Just want to make our staff as apprised of everything. I know we've got some decisions coming up with negotiations, starting to build budget for next year. But I wanted them to be fully aware, have the information. Staff intents, every year I send this out in January timeframe, maybe beginning of February. It's just basically asking staff what they feel their intentions are at this time. As far as returning this year, it went out to all staff to include licensed and non-licensed. I gave them till March 1st for a deadline. Not mandatory, but it's my hopes people will cooperate just so we can start wrapping our brains around staffing for next year. And understanding. And then I just included that link to the Minnesota Association of School Administrators legislative priorities. Shared that with you before, but I'll just keep that in there. And as we start seeing legislative updates, I'll be making sure to post those as we go along. That's all I have. Any questions?
The cell phone part, will that go into effect then the rest of this year or is it starting next year?
Next year.
Okay. I see.
We made a recommitment of staff and administration to follow what we have in place now, no matter how painful that may be at times. I felt it would not be appropriate to launch something new like this mid-year. This gives us messaging time that the board approves in March. We'll just start messaging out now. I'm sure that we're gonna have plenty of people listening tonight, and the message is gonna get out there pretty quickly. I just want to inform everybody well in advance so we can prepare. Any other questions?
Everybody settled in the room too? Oh, sorry. Okay. Fully hear with somebody else talking there.
Not here, Tom.
Okay, making sure. Sorry. I've been quiet for making sure.
I think that was Jake's wife yelling at him.
That might be.
Back off.
But it's gonna be interesting to see on how we can coordinate the cell phone in a better way, and I'm kind of excited to see what you come up with, everybody comes up with here, so moving forward. Other than that, we can get our reports behind us here. I don't hear anybody else really, no other questions for it, so. We can move on to our consent agenda, which would be our monthly bills, all the minutes from the December 17th, January, and then January 7th work session, and then contract approval. I don't really see anything listed there, resignation, so I think we have a motion to approve our consent agenda.
I'll make a motion.
We have a second.
Second.
Is that Jake?
Yep.
All in favor of approve our consent items, say aye.
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 Opposed? Same sign, motion carried to approve our consent agenda. And we'll move on to our recognitions of donations, and I'll read that quick here. Donations, resolution of accepting donations and grants, whereas Minnesota State Statutes 123B, subdivision 6 provides the board may receive for the benefit of the district request donations or gifts for any purpose, proper purpose, and apply the same to the purpose designated. In that behalf, the board may act as trustee of any trust created to provide pupils of the district with advanced education after completion of high school and the advancement of education. Whereas Minnesota State Statutes 465.03 provides any city, county, school district, or town may accept a grant or devise a real estate or personal property and maintain such property for the benefit of its citizens in accordance with the terms prescribed by the donor. Nothing herein shall authorize such acceptance or use for religious or sectarian purposes. Every such acceptance shall be by resolution of the governing body adopted by 2/3 majority of its members, expressing such terms in full, whereas every such acceptance shall be by resolution of the governing body adopted by 2/3 majority of its members, expressing such terms in full. Therefore be it resolved that the school board of Red Rock Central School District number 2884 gratefully accepts the following donations as identified below here in our report. We have from the Red Rock County Farm Bureau Association $300, and a purpose to that would to go towards the FFA. From our Lamberton Commercial Club, they're donating $75 for the purpose of towards concessions. In our Red Rock Central PTA, Reading Eggs Kruger, be it $200 going towards that purpose. And then we have a motion to accept our donations.
I'll make a motion.
We have a second to move forward accepting our donations.
I'll second it.
Alright, and we'll pass this by a resolution. If you wanna start our normal order,
Erickson, yes.
Warner, yes.
Imker, yes.
Teal, yes.
Well, yes.
Grant, yes.
Alright, perfect. Motion to, all approved it and the vote on adoption of the resolution was all in favor, whereupon said resolution was declared duly adopted by Red Rock Central. Thank you for donations. They'll be all put to good use for what they're meant for by the needies. So, I don't see the old business listed. We can move right into our new business, which would be our first agenda item on the new business. I should say not the agenda item, but a new first is the approved audit in our new business. So, is there any comments before we move into, I guess, regarding our audit approval?
Motion the discussion, Mr. Chair.
Alright, do we have a motion to approve our audit?
I'll make a motion.
Alright, and then, do we have any, discussion or question before we move on to approve?
Bruce. Yeah, so everybody has had time with this audit. I wrote notes down because, for everybody that's new on the board, to Nathan's point, the one finding has been on there every single year that I've been on, which is the segregation of duties. So from my own understanding, I would like to just know a little bit better about how that particular process works. So in my mind, I would see it as you would give direction on what needs to be paid out of what fund, and then Stacy, as our payable, would take that action to actually move the money
Right, or pay out of that fund, yes.
or pay out of that fund. So that is where we have now established the segregation of duties, where maybe prior,
Segregation of duties for rural schools will be on there for every rural school,
okay,
even when I was in North Dakota. And the reason behind it is we're confined with small staff.
yeah,
So when you look at finance department, you have payroll, then you have accounts payable and receivable, then you have budget, then you have several different people. We have only a couple people doing the majority of those jobs.
yeah,
So that's what segregation of duties means. And if you look in there, it'll say, and that's what he said, it's on there every year.
yeah.
It's on every district I've been in every year.
So I just, for my own understanding though, because with prior, situations,
Yeah.
procedures, I don't know that that's always what it was, so I just wanted to understand it, go forward, that is the guardrail that we have in place to ensure it's not one set of hands making the decisions and moving the money.
Sure, so I'll let you know the process that we do now. Say for instance, a requisition from a staff member that staff member puts that requisition in the system, it goes to Stacy to code it.
Yeah,
And then sometimes it's very obvious what code it goes to and what fund it comes out of. Then it comes to me, I review it to make sure it's not over budget, then I approve it, goes back to Stacy to final approve and submit it into the system. If there's if we do a curriculum purchase,
yeah,
that'll come to me, I'll put it in the system, and then I'll send it to Stacy, and I'll put on there what fund, like we have curriculum for elementary, curriculum for secondary, we have literacy and Cinta Day, we have title funds, we have
Yeah.
those different things. So I'll let her know what fund to take that out of. She'll process that, and then again, it comes back to me. So that's kind of ebb and flow. Now, something we've done differently, so we have journal entries where we do transfers. We might do transfers from liquid assets to cover, like, today was some sales tax on a variety of things. Way we do that now, once that journal entry is put in the system, then I get an email and I go in and review it, and I approve the journal entry. That way, the main purpose is so I'm apprised of what's going on. So sometimes you're gonna see in there a big journal entry, and you might not know what it is. You might see a change in some of our funds, like liquid assets, for instance. Well, every payday, it's about, I think it's about $300,000, give or take. I'll approve those transfers from liquid assets to pay payroll. So when you have that question, I can say, I do know it, I've reviewed it, I didn't have any skepticism or critique on it.
It's just proving very, like with Jordan coming in and seeing the funds that we can be utilizing for things, it's just like very pivotal that the funds are being pulled out of the correct thing.
A couple things about that. So we had, yesterday we had our Q2 meeting with him. And he went through some concerns and he highlights all the concerns, and we'll say there were some things that should have been coded differently. So Stacy will go in and recode them. Also, we have some outstanding checks that have never been cashed. So after there's a sunset date on these unclaimed funds. So if you give somebody a check and it's not cashed in so many years, it has to go back to the state. Money goes back to the state as unclaimed funds.
Yep.
So we're in the process of doing that. And I wouldn't say there's several, there are some, but not several. And some of them are coaches, I think a couple staff. Those we'll contact them. Did you lose the check? Do you still want the money? If they say no, or we can't contact them, that money will be sent back to the state as unclaimed funds. That's one thing Jordan went through. And then the one thing about Jordan right now, he's kind of the oversight of the budget for us. So he'll go through and make sure things are coded correctly. If he sees anything glaring, like an overage here, something that's over budget, then he'll bring that mention to us, and then we'll recode if necessary. Or there may be, I didn't create this budget, so there may be some items on the budget that maybe wasn't an efficient amount to budget for that area. And we may go over. The nice thing is for the most part, we're not close to that. The biggest items, of course, are salary and benefits. We're well under that at this point in time, so we won't have an issue going forward. Jordan is pivotal because he has that higher level view of it. It's very accessible to us.
Non-biased, high level overview.
Exactly, very non-biased. Also, he's able to take a deeper look, but put it in a manner where I can understand it. He answers my questions like in a very timely manner, considering he's working remotely for us.
Yeah.
And then if I say, I'm trying to think of something, Apogee, I let him know right away that wasn't budgeted originally, so he put that in there and adjusted funding based on that, different things like that. So he'll stay on top of our budget. Of course, he gives us that budget report every month, so it's phenomenal what we get from that.
Yeah, for sure.
So that
Okay, well
actually-
that helps.
That helps a little bit more, and then going forward, we can claim that when they look at that segregation of duties.
Yeah,
It's
for
not
sure.
we're still gonna have that concern in there, it'll always be in there, but it'll lighten that a little bit more.
It is a concern, but I think it sounds like we have good guardrails in place or a process in place where it's not the same money, the same hands touching the money as making the decisions.
Exactly, so I don't go in the system with money.
Right.
I don't go in the system and pay a bill, the only thing I do is review what's going on.
Yeah.
And then I either say yes, no, or explain to me what this is so I have a better understanding. Because there's so much that comes through every day, sometimes I can't understand all of it. But then I can look and ask for an explanation, but I keep out of the system as far as moving money or touching money.
Yeah, okay, good. The other thought I had while Nathan was presenting was that for those that may be listening, it's important if you don't have access to the actual packet to note that the numbers that were shared were as of fiscal year end, which was June.
At the end of June.
So not current day balances on everything.
And it's in there, I attached the audit report,
Right.
so everybody should have access to that if you have questions about it.
Okay, so then the last thing that I had here, the new finding, the 003, the capital project oversight and budget monitoring. That page was concerning. I don't know if everybody read through it. Obviously not, page 80. Obviously not a surprise to any of us. We know exactly that that was likely coming. The effect, the lack of adequate oversight and monitoring resulted in the building construction project exceeding available financing. Sitting with that in the time that we had to review this audit just made me consider looking ahead, that I think it's really important that we have a full understanding of exactly where the breakdown was or what transpired, not in the interest necessarily of a gotcha moment or placing any sort of blame, but identifying where the breakdown was so that we can ensure and make our stakeholders confident that that's never going to happen again. And if there was a breakdown, addressing it by changing a policy, getting adequate training, making sure people are aligned in the right roles. So my question is there any way to do any more discovery via, like, through Jordan or through our attorney or through any of the resources that we have so that we can confidently put that to bed?
I don't see why we couldn't figure out a way to do some type of internal audit. You can pull up any budget in the system,
Yeah,
you know, once it's closed out, it's archived, data, but it's there. So I can definitely certainly talk to our attorney and Jordan, see what, that would be beyond what would definitely contract for Jordan, but we do have an hourly rate for other things, so I can talk with our attorney, actually have a scheduled call with him Friday, so I can add that to what we're talking about, to see what his thoughts are moving forward. And then find out the information. I think what might be good before that, because that's gonna cost us money too,
Mhm.
just talking with him, is come up with some bullet points for me
mm-hmm,
that I can chat with him, give him a summary and send him those bullet points of what the board wants in actuality, as far as what we're looking for, what we wanna see. And then, send that to me. If you guys could send that to me tomorrow, then I can, I'll chat with Zach on Friday and then send that to him and see where we can go from there and then update the board.
yeah, it's just like we are at the beginning of all of this. It was so fresh and so new, but we're a year into the discovery phase, and I think what I'm personally finding is a lot of it had to have been known in some sense. And I've looked back through meeting minutes from last year at this time, or the packets that we were presented with, and that fund balance was never negative. So it's not.
It's a concern.
It's a concern, so this is, again, not to look backwards, not to focus on what happened, but rather to identify if there was a significant breakdown so that we can make sure going forward it never happens again. And granted, we will not have a construction budget again, but there are other funds.
I don't know, 20 years we might have another.
Yeah, well,
Something smaller.
Yeah. I don't think we'll be here for that one, but, no, I understand what you're saying. So I'll talk with the attorney, send me some bullet statements of exactly what you want proposed to him, and I'll talk to him in summary, kind of what your gist is on Friday, and then I can send that to him.
okay, perfect.
Thanks for bringing that up, Megan. Any other comments or questions regarding this before we move for approval? So, hearing none, we have, all in favor of approval our audit, say
Aye.
aye. Same sign, all in favor, so like. Motion carries to approve our audit. We'll move on to our next one for, now this will be a resolution for construction deficit transfer.
So typically, when we do it, a transfer is done by journal entry, and we typically don't need a resolution, but this is an exorbitant amount. So we're gonna be transferring that 2.01 million into general fund. What that will do is zero out Fund 6, so it'll carry zero balance in our construction fund, but that will affect our general fund, so operating, capital, and unassigned. So we'll be carrying a deficit in that, in general fund until it's paid off, and that'll be through the, we'll start building up some reserves, because we'll need the operating reserves. But we won't be carrying a big in-fund balance until we start getting the debt paid down through that capital facilities bond and operating costs, or operating funds. Because it's such a large amount, I talked with Jordan, he created this for us, and this is a way just to show the board is in coherence with this.
I'll make a motion.
Makes a motion for construction deficit transfer. We have a second.
I'll second it.
Warner seconded. Any other questions or comments? I guess my only comment would be, I think everybody is, we're getting the message out there clear on the reason and advantages of doing it this way, but I guess I just want to make sure everybody's listening publicly. Dr. Godfrey is great at explaining that, and as you explained before, you legally can't carry that deficit in the Fund 6, which was the construction fund. I mean, that's the simplest answer, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah. So that's all I'm going to add. Is there anybody else that wanted to add any other comment? Hearing none, we can move forward with a resolution vote. So
Erickson, yes. Warner, yes.
Imker, yes.
Keel, yes.
Yes. Grant, yes.
What is it? Passed by, majority. We all voted yes, so resolution carries for our construction deficit transfer to, what's the best way to work? We're moving all the construction deficit over to
The
the
general
general
fund,
funds, and we'll get the construction deficit paid up, so.
yes.
All right. And now that ties in, carries us forward to our next resolution for capital facility fund. Doc Godfrey, would you wanna start with that, or?
Yes, so this is what Shelby McQuay from Elders explained to the board at our work session. And basically what we're going to do is go out with capital facilities bond. That will not affect voters' taxes. Nobody in the district will have an increase in taxes because of this. What it basically does is it bonds against our current building. So we'll get money from that we'll be paying down, along with using operating funds to pay that down. So it's a 15-year process, can be paid off after 5 years. That'll give us funds to pay any outstanding contracts that are still out there. And between that, what we have currently in any unassigned or operating. So we'll get all contracts paid off. By approving tonight, a advertisement will go in the paper tomorrow. And that has to be advertised for 30 days. It has to get MDE approval. All things being considered, once we get through the process, we should have the funds in March to start paying those contracts off.
Tie it together, I guess, with, like 30 days, and we're gonna be doing that beginning of March, like you said, so. But I guess we have a motion to go ahead and be worded as a public notification going out for capital facility bond.
Well, this is the board approving the resolution to move forward with it, and then the notification of the paper will go out tomorrow.
Okay, it'll be tomorrow, so.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
I'll second.
All right. Any other questions or comments regarding our capital facility bond? Shelby did a good job at explaining things through, and but hearing that, maybe we can go ahead and start our resolution, our vote.
Erickson, yes.
Warner, yes.
Imker, yes.
Keel, yes.
Wall, yes.
Grant, yes.
So until
Duly noted, and motion carries a resolution to go ahead with our capital facilities bonds, and then the notice will out tomorrow, you said, Godfrey?
Yes.
Okay, that sounds good. Then we move on to our next item would be our Open Ed partnership agreement, would be, you wanna start with that?
Yes, this is what we've been talking about probably the last 2 months. Grant here presented to the board. This is the contract that I actually negotiated with them some time ago. So basically, the most important part is down the end, it talks about it talks about how we're gonna separate or separate the funding for it. Again, it comes to that 25% goes to Red Rock Central, 75% goes to Open Ed on the basic foundation aid, and then anything over that, as far as levy taxes or the weighted factors, comes to the school. So I think it averages about almost $4,000 per student that we'll be receiving for every new enrollment under Open Ed. And they maintain the overhead as far as teaching force. We did talk about we may have to hire a remote virtual special ed teacher. We won't know that until later, once we start looking at that enrollment.
You're gonna give this on.
did Zach vet this?
Start.
Did Zach vet this?
No, but this has been.
Okay.
And was there, would we have a motion to move further with our Open Ed partnership agreement?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Warner, did we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Jake. Now, do we have any other questions or discussion regarding this? I know it's. We've been, and I know, Bruce, I don't know, you missed the last one, we had some pretty good discussion, I think. Dr. Godfrey pretty much explained it pretty short and sweet there for a little bit, so. And then I think we all see some, hopefully we all see some benefits. Does anybody have any comments regarding any concerns before we move to approve?
No.
Alright, hearing none, we can, all in favor to approve our Open Ed partnership agreement, say aye.
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 Is that unanimously carried? Motion carried to approve our Open Ed partnership agreement. And here's the next one's the interesting one that we were shared with, to adopt the chain of communication, which, for one, I kind of appreciate seeing that spelled out as you did. You wanna turn it over to you?
Yeah, so this is just a way of conveying to our public the proper channels to go through to get information and where to start first. We often have, and a lot of times because people just simply don't know, who do I go to if I have a problem, a concern with the coach, who do I go to if I have a problem with the classroom or food service or whatever. So this basically shows that chain of communication, and then it helps us kind of stick by that. So if you get somebody in the public saying, hey, what about our mental health services? Well, have you talked to Ms. Karnitz yet? And that's, in some of those questions, you guys don't have all the information to get into an in-depth explanation anyways. So it's more of a guide. I will, before we put this on our website, spruce it up a little bit to make it look legit.
Gonna color code it or what?
Make it look a little prettier, for lack of a better word. But this is the main composition of it.
Can I just make one suggestion when you fluff it up?
Yes.
Maybe below there, call out who those people are. So like, if somebody, I mean, I know we have a directory on the website though, right? So they could look up and see who the athletic director is, or
Yes.
like the wellness committee. Who
And
does
the
that
reason-
consist
The
of?
reason we typically wouldn't put a direct name in there is because the board will adopt us, and then if that.
Oh,
there's
we're
some
to
in the
change.
position, then we have to change it before we.
Wellness committee was just the one that stuck out to me, cause I don't know who's on that. I don't know who's on the curriculum committee,
Okay, I get that.
but maybe those were the only two.
And then you can see if you got to that point, you don't know who it is, then you go to that second contact.
Okay. Just roll over to that. And then my answer will be, I bypass them because I don't know who's on the committee.
And that's a good answer, actually. So,
I didn't know we had a wellness committee.
Yeah,
yeah, every district in the state as well.
okay.
We have a motion to accept, adopt our chain of communication.
I'll make a motion.
I'll make a motion we adopt this chain of communication info.
Okay,
Probably second.
I'll second it, Nate.
make Bruce, make a motion, and Megan will second. Any other questions or concerns?
I like it.
Thank you, yeah, and Mr. Back, it's the same way.
Yeah,
And it's a good communication device for our stakeholders to just kind of guides them to where to go to get the right answers.
All in favor of adopt our chain of communication, say
aye.
aye. Aye. Unanimously carried, it sounded like. Opposed? Anybody opposed? Doesn't sound like it. Motion carries, adopt our chain of communication. We'll move on to our next item of new business, will be our .5 pilot teacher.
We had talked about this to a pretty good extent at our work session. Right now, our focus is through multi-tier system of support, is supporting students that are below proficient. We have one title teacher that's pretty much strapped to with work. We do have some students that are falling through the cracks a bit because we don't have that extra support. Our title teacher does have a paraeducator in there working with a group too, so I mean, it's running efficiently, so it's not a concern about the effectiveness of it. What they're doing is they're doing a good job, and there's two staff members that are pretty exemplary in what they're doing. We do have a program called Read 180, which is designed for what we call tier 3 students that are at that 20% below proficiency level. We haven't been able to get them a really good intervention yet. Our title teacher doesn't have the opportunity to do it. So my goal is for the board to approve this. I'll bring somebody in the remainder of the year and look at reorganizing elementary next year as we're looking, we're shifting, we gotta shift some staff around because of numbers, and that's why we did that this year. So rather than shift them around, we might have some staff take over some responsibility for this tier 3. If for some reason we have an influx of students and we have full class loads, then we'll look at that 0.5 and continue with that. My goal is find somebody the remainder of this year and then look at some reorganizing next year. And I do have a staff meeting with elementary staff, elementary teachers next week to discuss a lot of this.
Okay, so obviously we are strapped for cash. I mean, we know that, but you saying we have kids falling through the cracks
Yes.
is, we have to remember the reason that we are here, what we're trying to accomplish, and if that's happening, I would support a 0.5.
I've always been one to say that the biggest stigma coming out of high school is graduating not being able to read, at least read proficiency at your age or grade level. Those interventions begin early. The earlier you begin an intervention, the more likely you are to deter from a disability label for special ed services. So I just feel we need to beef up our multi-tiered system of supports right now to support these students so they don't fall into qualification for special ed, so that when they get to high school, they can read efficiently and proficiently. The way to do it is hit it hard when they're young.
And you said this is kind of a catch-up deal, right? They'll catch up 2
Yes.
years in 1 year or something.
It's a very fast-moving curriculum. Over a full year of use of the curriculum, and this is a research-validated curriculum. This is one approved by the state as well. as far as an intervention curriculum for tier 3. It is statistically shows it will progress through 2 grade levels a year. And they can remain in this until they're caught up. So some students might be in this for a few years. It'll go through it fast and get them to grade level proficiency much faster than what we could do normally.
I was just gonna say, I was gonna reach out to Bruce, so since you kind of know this was shared, but was there any other question you kind of lost out on the work session, the study session? Was there anything that you're not caught up on, maybe wondering why he's doing this, that you're not gathering already, or?
No, I can understand it, and I mean, the people there identify the need, and I can support that.
Okay. Yeah, just want to make sure you're all up to speed before we carry it on to a motion or for approval, so, yep. So we have a motion to bring on a 0.5 FTE title teacher. Do we have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Brian. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, good.
I guess it's moving on. I think I'd like to follow Megan's point on that. We have some cash strapped too, but in the same sense where it all connects to academics and teaching. That's how I view it. And on one end, we're also going to fail eventually on the other end. So I mean, that's gonna no matter what, budget and academics are connected to an extent. So, but that's the students is probably that's our focus. So. I guess that was my comment, but I don't know if anybody else has any questions or comments, or. Hearing none, all in favor to accept the 0.5 FTE teacher hire, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have an opposed. Hearing none, it looks like we approve our hire of the 0.5 FTE title teacher. Then that'll get, Godfrey, you'll take that. You're gonna post that right away, or how are you gonna go ahead and do that?
Yep, we'll post it.
Okay. Other than that, I guess we can look at our succeeding meetings. Would be our Wednesday, February 4th at 5 p.m. is a work session, and then our regular board meeting is February 18th. Then we moved on to, I sent an email out. There's a visit. Regards to our March work session, and that's another 4th, but we have time in February to discuss that if we, how to rearrange that, but we kind of, with that 30-day notice on the bonds, we think that's how I understood it. We were gonna want to do that again on March 4th, correct?
It has to go through MDE first, so I'll let
Okay.
Shelby will guide us through that.
Okay, so just based on MDE and approval, and after all the 30 days, see when everything lands, so to speak, so,
Correct.
okay. But, I think we're all caught up. I guess there's nothing else. I think that's all on the agenda. I can call for adjournment, and thank everybody for attending and being flexible and letting a few of us join remotely. I appreciate that, so.
Stay safe.
All right, thanks, you too.
Yep, see ya.